Okay, it's September the 19th, 2020. This is George Webb near Washington, D.C. on the Potomac, which I call the diplomatic back channel. So today's show is going to be about the plan to replace your police department. This is NATO's plan to replace your police department. And we have a lot of demonstrations currently going on that there is this effort to make it seem or make it appear as these demonstrations happening in Seattle and Portland and Minneapolis and Atlanta and so forth are spontaneous. But I can assure you that this is a very tried and true plan that NATO has used in conjunction with the CIA for a takeover city by city of all of a country's police departments. And this has been written in a book by Doug Valentine called the Phoenix Program, and it outlines how you create these disturbances in each province after you get a foothold near a police department, and then you create that as your main center of sanctuary for mercenaries that you bring in, like the Mujahideen in Bosnia or Kosovo, et cetera. And then you go from using your forces that you gain in one foothold, then you move those to the next. So you would go from a Seattle, let's say, to a Portland. And we predicted that, and that's exactly what's happening today. We looked at the players in this in our series, talking about Carl Bildt and David Petraeus. And the reason why it's important to show the plan is that you don't want to go for these fakes and feints and demonstrations that the generals on the opposite side do and put all your time, energy, and effort and worry, etc., into the demonstrations or the feints. You want to focus on what's the actual plan and then devise a defense to that plan. And it turns out it's remarkably easy, and I'll get to that at the end. But just so you know that this has happened in many, many other countries, you can just Google UN peacekeepers and see it's happened not only in Bosnia and Kosovo, but Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, Syria, Libya, Sudan, Yemen, Haiti. We talked a lot about Haiti in our program. We learned about how much the Strux, Peter Strzok, was involved, along with his father. And we talked about Congo and Tanzania, Kenya, all these countries, this sort of safari club that the Strucks have in Africa, especially the Horn of Africa, Honduras, Colombia, all over Central and South America. These replacement programs for replacement of police have occurred. And our strategy has always been to identify the players, identify their plans, and identify their players so that we can defend against them exactly the same way you prepare for a football game or a basketball game. And part of that is learning the front organizations. I guess the equivalent in basketball would be learning the fakes that the person uses so that when they give you the fake, you don't take the fake. And the big fake here is the Atlantic Council. The Atlantic Council is basically the UN/NATO's rinse to make you think it's not the business council, it's not the war council of NATO. But I can assure you that all the technology being brought back that the U.S. taxpayers are paying for and the money going to NATO is rinsed back through the Atlantic Council in business ventures that come back and are used against the American people, primarily through the Department of Homeland Security, Chertoff and Hayden and the like that we've talked about so much. So let's talk about the technology that they bring. We've identified a guy named Dmitry Alperovich, who I've had the, I guess, unfortunate experience of knowing, but I'm glad I did know him because I saw these operatives being brought in to a major corporation that was writing antivirus software. And basically these NATO, I saw it with my own eyes, bringing these NATO operatives in after they were turned as this old Soviet Union collapsed to actually writing virus attacks on the people of the United States, the financial systems of the United States. In much the same way, COVID-19 would shut all the businesses down. These viruses would shut their American businesses down toward the end of these quarters. And the only way that you could get out of jail, so to speak, and get your financial statements out was to buy Dmitry Alperovich's antivirus. Isn't that the same game as this COVID-19, where we play the virus vaccine game? We developed the virus, we developed the vaccine, now we're in a position to play the virus vaccine game, only this time with human beings. We talked a lot about satellite technology in our series, going to places like Pakistan to find Osama bin Laden, Operation Blackjack, and how that same technology is being turned back into tracking through the National Geospatial Administration into a global information grid. We've been talking about this global information grid and how it's being used to track people with this sort of tag and trace technology. And now we see it being used in tag and trace technology with COVID. We followed these couriers for biowarfare. Again, you have to get down to the actual players and plays. You can't just say, well, what's their plan? They're going to, they run a passing game. That's not going to be good enough. We have to actually draw up and chalkboard out the actual passing plays they use and who the receivers are and who are the threats in order to organize a defense. So we talk about the NATO couriers and biowarfare going to these different DTRA centers in our series. Chemical weapons. We go to the University of Delaware, where a lot of these foundations are funded, the Duisburg Foundation, the development at Edgewood Arsenal, the testing at Aberdeen Proving Grounds. We talk a lot about drones, drone technology. Again, remember the Green Zone phones that we have mentioned in our series work with the drones, so you can fly using encrypted communications that can't interrupt these drones. You can't take them down with normal defenses, electronic defenses. These drones is Fort Huachuca, and everyone in our series, again, this is going to go to how we combat this. All of the people in our series map back to this intelligence command, which is in Fort Huachuca. And that's where you learn to fly these drones. Drones can be used for surveillance. Drones can be used offensively to spray, either a mild bioweapon, a severe bioweapon, chemical weapons, as well as even deliver missiles and so forth. So, and then just the whole asymmetric warfare manual that we've identified. And again, this is reading the playbook of the opposing coach in a way. We've talked to Jeffrey Prather, and we've through various YouTube channels like Farmer Jones's channel, we've sourced the actual playbook, the unconventional warfare playbook. We've looked at the Elon Musk NATO flamethrowers. We've looked at the various folks in the political organizations that are rinsing these, the DNC particularly, that's rinsing these unconventional warfare techniques as something demonstrators do. So by doing a news story on demonstrators using a paint or hairspray can with a lighter to improvise a flamethrower, that's a way of basically hiding the fact that you're teaching people how to do an improvised flamethrower. The same thing can be true with flamethrowers created from gasoline cans and Molotov cocktails. Again, we have this lawyer, a DNC lawyer from the Eastern District of New York, showing people how to throw Molotov cocktails and showing pictures of how to do it. Again, we need to expose this network in the DNC, as DNC is the rinse point, if you will, for this NATO technology coming back in the United States. These demonstrations are mainly done through the DNC. We have to look at them as just that, feints and demonstrations coming from the real enemy, which is the people who want to replace your police force, and that is NATO, and that is the CIA. So how do we stop this? You can predict and make educated guesses at what they might do with these flamethrowers, or what they might do. Recently, we had a blogger named Harry the Greek do a show about 100 foggers that this sort of Mormon mafia in Utah was putting together, going to potentially intercept the Trump rally, creating a toxic cloud over a large freeway for people approaching the Trump rally. That's pretty hard work because every time you eat, drink, and breathe, that's a potential for a enemy to suffocate you or poison you or attack you. But it is helpful because it does kind of maybe disrupt plots. But again, thing we've concentrated on in our series is exposing the network. That's the sort of counterintelligence that takes the least amount of work, almost laughably hardly any work, to get the maximum amount of results. And if you forgot that strategy, I'll talk about it here, the declassification strategy. Identify who the players are. Obviously, John Radcliffe of the Office of the Director of National Intelligence is the key person who could be doing these declassifications. And we've recommended 2 key documents be declassified. And one document, both of these documents are already out on WikiLeaks. We're just talking about removing the masking tape, removing the redactions in just 2 memos. One is called Anthony Weiner's Trusted Staff. There's a memo between Hillary Clinton and Huma Abedin for configuring these BlackBerries. And the person who configures the BlackBerries, the administrator, knows all of the emails, let's say, in a company. The administrator knows all the emails, so they're the perfect person to go to get the whole network. So you expose the administrator, then you expose everything that the administrator worked on. Same thing with phones. The administrator who configures all the phones knows all the phone numbers, he knows all the secret PIN numbers, he knows the encryption, he knows where he got the phones. And again, this is a key person that you want to collect the evidence and also bring interview and also bring in front of Congress to question, subpoena. Remember, in our series, we go to all the homes of this Imran Awan, who is the key person configuring these phones and emails for Congress, and we find a fact witness to these phones, and we find the phones, and we find these hard drives from the server. So we know they exist. We have a fact witness. And now we have several congressional committees as well as the Inspector General saying these were used for nefarious purposes. So that was Nancy Pelosi's Inspector General. So we're just recommending lifting the masking tape on one part of a memo that's already out, already public, that says who configured the phones for Anthony Weiner's Trusted Staff. The other one is 22 pieces of masking tape on a State Department memo saying who did these deals? Who are the operatives that did the Iran nuclear deal, or what I call the Iran weapons deal? Who are the people who did Libya, Syria, Sudan, Yemen, Congo, Haiti, Honduras, Colombia? Those are going to be the same people who replaced the police departments in those countries with Dyncorp or other contractors like Blackwater, mercenary contractors. Those are going to be the same people who want to replace the police departments in the United States. It's just that simple. If you have somebody who goes around the world doing this strategy, this Phoenix program strategy, in all these countries, in 30 or 40 different countries, and then you see them do 2 or 3 police departments in your own country, starting with the key conspirator, with Keith Ellison working directly with Imran Awan, and they do 3 of the departments in lockstep prediction of replacing the police departments as we predicted on the channel. You have to believe that they're going to continue to go to police department to police department. They're going to do demonstrations through the DNC to make it look organic. And this is something we can easily predict if we expose, just lift the masking tape on who configured these phones for this dark network, for this criminal enterprise of taking over the United States' key enforcement arm, which is all of our police departments. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again a little bit later today.